I need you to sit with one uncomfortable truth before we begin. Not because I want to scare you, not because I want to shock you, but because it's the only way to wake up from the trance society has kept you in for your entire life. Here it is. The deadliest drug in the world is legal. Not only legal, celebrated, encouraged, glorified, wrapped in pretty labels, poured into crystal glasses, toasted at every milestone you've ever had. This drug kills more people every year than heroin, cocaine, meth, prescription opioids, every street drug, and every overdose crisis you've ever heard of combined. And yet, you can walk into any supermarket, pass the flowers and the chocolate and the birthday balloons, and find it displayed like a gift. Most people don't want to hear that. It sounds too harsh, too dramatic, too extreme, but that's the genius of the system. The most dangerous poison is always the one sold as normal, the one attached to the most memories, the one tied to celebration, connection, relief, confidence, adulthood, the one that hides behind the phrase "just one drink" while quietly dismantling the organs, the relationships, the ambitions, and the self-respect of millions of people, often without them even noticing. My own experience. After working with hundreds of people, business owners, engineers, surgeons, CEOs, teachers, parents, there's one thing I see over and over again. The real danger of alcohol isn't the chaos it creates at the end. It's the invisibility of the damage at the beginning. Almost every person who has sat across from me genuinely believed they were fine for years. They thought they were drinking, normally. They thought they were in control. They thought the stress, the irritability, the bad sleep, the scattered focus, the creeping anxiety were just part of their personality, or part of adulthood, or part of their job. Not once did they consider that alcohol was slowly rewiring the very systems that made them feel like themselves. And that's the brutal part. Not the rock bottoms, not the crises, but the quiet middle years when people are convinced nothing is wrong. I've coached people who manage hundreds of employees, people who negotiate seven-figure deals, people who run families with military precision. And yet, every single one of them fell for the same illusion. The illusion that alcohol is something they're handling, that they're the one person who can outthink it, outrun it, or outdiscipline it. Only later, sometimes years later, do they realize the truth. Alcohol is engineered, culturally and chemically, to make intelligent, capable people believe they're the exception, right up until the moment they're not. And once they finally see how the mechanism works, something clicks. Not a motivational click, not a willpower click, a perceptual one. They suddenly understand that the problem was never their character. It was the story they'd been taught. So when I tell you what I'm about to tell you, I'm not speaking from theory. I'm speaking from watching hundreds of good people break free the moment they understood what alcohol actually is. I'm talking about the deeper truth that shatters the facade. The truth that your drinking has never been a moral failure or a lack of discipline. It's been a misunderstanding, a mislabeling, a misinterpretation of what this drug does inside the brain, the body, and the belief systems that shape your behavior. Once people see that, something remarkable happens. They stop fighting themselves. They stop blaming themselves. And as soon as that internal war ends, the desire begins to dissolve. Not because they're resisting it, but because the illusion that created the desire collapses. And when the illusion collapses, the struggle ends with it. What alcohol actually is: chemistry and toxins. Let's start with the simplest question you can ask about anything. What is it? Alcohol is ethanol. Ethanol is a toxic industrial chemical. It's the same ethanol used in paint thinner, the same ethanol used in antifreeze, the same ethanol that kills bacteria instantly in hand sanitizers. The only difference is that the government requires the industrial version to be mixed with methanol to stop people from drinking it and avoiding the alcohol tax. If they didn't add methanol, people would buy antifreeze, drink it, and the alcohol companies would lose billions. Think about that for a second. The liquid sold as wine, whiskey, or beer is chemically identical to the liquid labeled poison on industrial containers. Yet one is decorated and celebrated, and the other has a skull and crossbones on it. The contradiction is so enormous that your mind almost refuses to believe it. It's like discovering that the chocolate you've eaten your whole life is actually repackaged rat poison. But this is where the industry is brilliant. They don't try to convince you that alcohol is healthy. They just try to convince you that it's normal, and when something feels normal, you stop questioning it. But here's the part that society never explains. Ethanol doesn't kill you directly. The real killer is what your body turns it into. The moment you swallow a drink, your liver converts ethanol into acetaldehyde. And acetaldehyde is up to 30 times more toxic than the alcohol itself. It's a molecule so reactive that it bonds to proteins, DNA, and fats, forming massive dysfunctional clusters that don't belong in your body. These clusters damage cells, mutate genes, inflame tissues, and disrupt the normal functioning of everything they touch. Your liver tries to neutralize it as quickly as possible, but the damage is done. Sip by sip, night by night, year by year, the compound accumulates. This is the real mechanism behind the cancers, the liver disease, the heart problems, the mood disorders, the brain shrinkage, and the aging that alcohol accelerates. The lie of responsible drinking. And yet, society keeps repeating the same tired phrase, drink responsibly, as if the primary determinant of damage is the number of glasses, not the substance itself. That phrase is one of the greatest psychological manipulations ever invented. It shifts the blame from the product to the consumer. It says, if you suffer, it's because you failed, not because the drug was dangerous, you weren't responsible enough. It's the same twisted logic as putting a warning label on a grenade that says, please explode responsibly. You can't consume a neurotoxin responsibly, you can only consume less of the damage. And trust me, I get why the messaging works. I used to believe it myself. I thought my problem was that I lacked willpower, that my drinking was a flaw in me, not the predictable result of a chemical engineered to hijack the brain's reward system. The chemistry of anxiety and addiction. C. Alcohol increases GABA, the neurotransmitter responsible for calmness, sedation, and emotional quiet. Over time, your brain anticipates that artificial boost and lowers its natural GABA activity, which means the longer you drink, the more anxious, irritable, and restless you feel without alcohol. And that restlessness doesn't mean you're an alcoholic, it means your brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to do to maintain balance. The same process happens with caffeine withdrawal, sugar withdrawal, nicotine withdrawal. But with alcohol, we pathologize the person instead of the substance. That internal shakiness, the anxiety, the irritability, the racing thoughts, is not a flaw, it's chemistry. And here's the part that people don't realize. It only takes about 3 days of not drinking for the GABA system to reset 3 days. That's how fragile the illusion of addiction actually is. The brain flip that makes alcohol feel necessary is reversible in less than a week. But most people never make it 3 days because they're stuck in the belief that they need willpower to get through, when in reality what they need is clarity. When you see alcohol for what it is, the desire to drink doesn't need to be fought. It simply evaporates. The true cost in numbers. Let's talk numbers for a second, because this is where the story gets even darker. Alcohol kills around 140,000 people in the United States every year. That's more than every illegal drug combined. It's more than heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, meth, benzodiazepines, and every overdose epidemic put together. But unlike those drugs, alcohol kills quietly. It destroys through slow, incremental erosion, liver disease, cancers, strokes, heart failure, accidents, suicides, violence, depression, organ dysfunction. It shortens the lifespan of the average heavy drinker by 26 years. not 6 months, not 5 years, 26. Yet we still maintain this cognitive dissonance where alcohol is framed as a normal part of life, and every other drug is framed as a destructive aberration. Imagine if cocaine killed 140,000 people a year. The world would be in uproar. Imagine if heroin was sold next to birthday cards. You'd call the country insane, but because alcohol is wrapped in tradition, nostalgia, etiquette, celebration, we let it pass through all of our defenses. The industry's deception, and the industry knows this. They've studied your psychology more thoroughly than you've studied it yourself. They understand that humans don't buy alcohol for the taste, because let's be honest, no 5-year-old takes a sip of beer and thinks, wow, delicious. What we buy is identity, belonging, permission, escape, relief, story. Alcohol companies don't sell liquid, they sell meaning. They sell a personality upgrade, confidence, sex appeal, relaxation, social ease. And once they convince you that the drink is tied to who you are, they no longer need to convince you to drink. You'll do it automatically. But here's the part nobody talks about. Alcohol has no actual ability to provide the things we believe it provides. It doesn't reduce stress. It creates it. It doesn't boost confidence. It numbs inhibition. It doesn't make people more sociable. It lowers the brain's capacity to process social cues. It doesn't help you sleep. It destroys the quality of sleep, preventing REM and raising cortisol. It doesn't enhance creativity. It suppresses the prefrontal cortex and reduces cognitive flexibility. Every perceived benefit of alcohol is nothing more than relief from the discomfort alcohol created in the first. That's the trap. You drink to feel normal, not good, normal. And the longer you drink, the smaller that normal window becomes. I discovered this the hard way. I spent years believing the story that alcohol was my way of relaxing at the end of the day, so I'd drink to unwind. Then I'd wake up anxious, guilty, mentally cloudy, emotionally shaky, and I thought, that feeling was me. I thought I was an anxious person. I thought I was weak, unmotivated, inconsistent. I thought I didn't have discipline, so by the afternoon I'd crave another drink to take the edge off, not realizing the edge only existed because of the drink. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Alcohol was creating the fire and handing me the extinguisher and calling it help. And this is why alcohol kills more than every illegal drug combined. Street drugs take your life quickly. Alcohol takes your life slowly, silently, invisibly, with a smile, with a toast, with a handshake, with a celebration. It kills you in the most socially acceptable way possible, one drink at a time. The path to freedom. But here's the part that gives me hope. This illusion isn't permanent. The moment you see through the lie, everything changes. When you stop believing alcohol is giving you something, you stop desiring it. When the desire goes, the struggle goes, and when the struggle goes, quitting becomes effortless. I'm not saying easy, I'm saying effortless, as in, the desire to drink naturally shuts off because the illusion has been dismantled. Think about this. Nobody craves gasoline. Nobody craves bleach. Nobody craves antifreeze. Why? Not because of willpower, but because nobody ever told you those substances would give you confidence, fun, connection, or relief. They were never paired with celebration, identity, or adulthood. Your brain never formed emotional associations with them. The same is true with alcohol once you break the story. When you remove the meaning, the lure disappears. This is not positive thinking. This is neuroscience. Human beings don't crave chemicals. They crave the meaning attached to the chemicals. Remove the meaning. Remove the desire. That's why, after 7 years without a drop, I never miss alcohol. Not because I'm special. Not because I'm disciplined. But because the underlying illusion, the belief that alcohol gave me something, is gone. Once it's gone, There's nothing left to fight. A new beginning. Before I close, there's one more truth you need to hear. One that most drinkers never allow themselves to even consider. Alcohol has taken more from you than you realize. Not just mornings, not just health, not just money, but years of your potential. The version of you that could have existed without the fog, without the anxiety, without the cravings, without the guilt, without the self-negotiation every evening, without the micro-decisions draining your willpower and your identity. You haven't even met that version of yourself yet. But you can, and faster than you think. Because here's the final punch. Your body begins to heal almost instantly when you stop drinking. Your liver begins repairing itself within days. Your GABA system resets within 3 days. Your sleep normalizes within 2 weeks. Your inflammation declines, your brain fog lifts. Your resting heart rate drops. Your clarity returns, your energy rises, your confidence builds, your future expands. You don't quit drinking. You return to yourself. So, if you've been wondering why you can't control your drinking, maybe stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What exactly is this substance I've been pouring into my body?" Because once you see the truth, once you understand that alcohol is a toxic chemical dressed up as culture, you'll never look at a drink the same way again. And that shift, that moment of clarity, is the first step toward control. Not control through force, but control through understanding. The deadliest drug on the planet isn't the one in the alleyway, it's the one on the dinner table. And the moment you see that clearly, you're already halfway free. If this video resonated with you, you are likely one of the intelligent, successful people who have managed to keep this problem hidden for years. You are the high-functioning drinker. And the high-functioning drinker faces an entirely different and often more dangerous set of illusions. In the next video, I pull back the curtain on the dark side of high-functioning drinking. We're going to explore exactly how competence shields you from consequences, why success can be the biggest trap of all, and the invisible erosion that happens when you're outwardly succeeding while quietly self-destructing. Click the video on your screen now to understand why being a high-functioning drinker is the ultimate deception, and how to finally break free from the cage your own success has built. My own experience.